race of the Disregard Parts Distribution Silverstone C1 Racing Club. 24 hours to go. So we're going to be right through with you, myself, Scott Woodwis, Anthony Jordan and Dan Blake. Hopefully we'll get some updates from the pits a little bit later on this morning, as the 418 now being dragged.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that effectively he's having to really control the steering whilst the snatch vehicle pulls it out of the gravel. It's just dragging the front wheels all the way through. And that might not say because it's a brake problem, probably because I think he should stop the car from running away. I think he probably has that car on the brake pedal as it goes all the way through. So once he gets it onto the tarmac, which he is now, he's now allowing it to roll and hopefully get it under its own steam again. Now that car, I would imagine, should go straight to the pits next time by, because the team want to go and check it out to make sure there's no too much damage, and also maybe empty out some of the gravel that's collected behind the bumper.
So, other teams in the pits. Orange Motorsport in the 449, currently running in 24th position. Young and Dunn with Petters behind the wheel, 35th and in the pits. And quite a few changes. Elk Motorsport, or Elk Sapporo Motorsport in the 379, currently circulating. Oh, that's nearly 5 wide. That's very close to being 5 abreast. I think we were talking last night, Scott, that you can fit 2 Formula 1 cars side by side, but with Citroen C1s, I think you could probably fit 6.
And what they're going to be careful of is one car in that sequence is actually our 3rd place team, which is the Merlin Developments, the 4th place team, Merlin International. And they're getting right in the mix. They had a great battle in that pack, and that's something which has been happening for a while in terms of some of the leading groups. Once a car, there was a battle that Katie Milner was having with the Team Tivoli squad in her first stints, as the 418 has finally been able to bit extricated from the gravel trap, and away it goes. Well, it's trying to, at least. I think it's trying to put its find a suitable place to rejoin the track. Here's the gaggle of cars which involves the 480s. It goes up the inside of the Quattro Formaggio, team number 392 into Abbey Corner. 418 finally makes its way back onto the track rather gingerly in front of the...
Oh, that was close!
And that was Team Viking. That was Team Viking heading its way through. I don't think it anticipated the speed difference that much. I think, oh, crikey. And that's Merlin International!
Oh.
That's P4. Now, that was possibly... We saw them trying to go side by side with Quattro Formaggio. I imagine possibly either Quattro Formaggio closed the door when either there was contact, or Jem Hepworth stood on the anchors, lost the back end of the car and spun it around. So... that it hasn't lost position, but that's a big dramatic moment. And we did just say, did we not? Getting involved in a group like that is a bit dubious, of course, but being really in the middle of that pack, and that just seems to have not worked out in Jem's favour. The car looks undamaged, so it looks as though it hasn't any contacts. It may be the case if there was, it was maybe sort of very light sort of panel-to-panel contact. But a scary moment for Jem Hepworth, probably thinking, maybe I shouldn't be involved in this pack racing in 4th place with back markers too much. And
as you say that the 474 of the Curie Celtic with Clapham North, they are doing some work underneath the bonnet. They slam it shut. It looks like they might have, they had a couple of power tools by the front of that car. So maybe, news not to say, maybe even spark plug changes. If the car's misfiring, they'll put a new set of plugs in it and get it back underway. It's, you know, the stress that these cars are being put under is absolutely unfathomable, I think, and that's a very long word for a Sunday morning.
And it's very unfamiliar to these cars as well, because effectively these cars, with all due respect, are not built to do 24-hour races. They're built really to just be run around little urban cityscapes. If you see, it's Area Motorsport. That's very close, and even again, there might be several positions apart, but it doesn't stop Area Motorsport having some fun battling with Silver Lake Racing there. Silver Lake Racing are much higher up the standings, whereas the Area Motorsport squad are down in 80-something place. So,
well, the GMP development stand up to cancer car with the likes of Marino Franchitti. Howden Haynes is in the pits. They're currently running in 16th position, having qualified 31st. So that's a really good effort. One of 2 stand up to cancer cars that we got here on the grid this weekend.
There's more on track battle going here. That's Misty Racing scrapping with the other GMP developments car. There is Jem Hepworth, just behind the Rusty Nail squad.
Now the gap between Team Merlin and Citroen before Jem had that spin was just over 30 seconds, and they've lost about 23 as a result of that. But Jem's now will have refocused and reset, so to speak.
In fact, if we look on the Hangar Straight camera, I think we can see both of them in one shot. I think there it is. Look, one car's gone wide. That's the 317. That's the Team Tivoli car, I think, isn't it? Again, going off the road.
Yep.
The Team Tivoli for the 2nd time running wide at the exit of Beckett's, but. I think we can see visibly see the gap now between 4th and 5th position there, because I did just see Citroen Racing with Burgess at the wheel sweep through shots. So I think they've already gone through, so we can't see them just yet as they head down the Hanger Straight towards Stoke. They've already made their way, I think, down towards the complex at Club and Vale.
So the lap time with that spin for Jem Hepworth was a 3-minute 30.084. As you can just see how many of these cars, that's the 308, no front, no rear windscreen, and also some slight caving in on the front main part of the actual windscreen surround there on the car. So that looks like that's had a little bit of an upside down excursion.
And look here, that's the visible gap, you can see it, the 480 there, Jem Hepworth. The next car immediately behind her, that is Citroen Racing. That's how much time Jem Hepworth lost in the spin here a lap ago. So Citroen Racing with Burgess at the wheel is charging after them now to try and snatch 4th position. So the gap that was 30 seconds has now substantially come down to 6, but it looks a lot less than that now in this sequence.
That's very, very much the case, because Citroen have been running consistently in the 3-minute 6s. With Team Merlin, their best lap is a 3-minute 5.7, but Jem's just trying to keep it on the asphalt, just keep going, and as you said, you know, to finish first you have to finish, and that is very true of what's happening there. So the 441 now being brought back to the National Paddock and Pits. So that's oh, we've had a stop-go penalty for the 474 speeding in pit lane. I think that's the... Oh, we've had a spin for the 497 as well.
I think they might have started to get a bit tired out there in terms of... we've had over 16 hours of racing, but even so, concentration levels might not be the brightest, particularly at this time of the morning, just past 9:30 in the morning.
Hopefully no one's pulling up the handbrake and doing any J-turns, unfortunately, but it is where the sidewalls are screaming for their lives, and just, you know, I think as Alex Wirtz once said, I've run out of talent. But you know, it's 16 hours into the race. The drivers will be tired. The mechanics will be tired.
The cars will be tired as well.
Well, I think the cars. You know, there's so much that we can do with the power of the human mind. But then, when you talk about mechanical sympathies, we have Mr. Kachow, 344 of Rusty's Racing, having a little bit of a side by side with the 411. So still very, very much plenty, and some of these drivers are going up the inside into particular corners. That's the 390 there,
and that was on the damp patch as well. That was off the dry line on the racing line. That was 390. So that was,
and we've got
that was ASR. So that was Alex Sedgwick at the wheel of that car. So Alex Sedgwick has decided he's brave enough. He's of course now moved into the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series this year, of course, as has Callum Cripps, his fellow teammate in that car. P6 and chasing after Citroen Racing, so they are currently 56 seconds behind. So we've got now...
Hang on a minute. We've just had a 3-minute 2.0, and that is from Alex Sedgwick on his last lap.
That was the lap before he's about to complete, I think. So
yeah.
So we've just seen Citroen Racing go past, I think.
Gap now between them is 3.1 seconds.
Yeah.
Jem Hepworth did a 3-minute 9.4, and then Burgess and Citroen did a 3-minute 5.5. And just look at how committed Alex Sedgwick is through these corners.
He's treating it like the Euro NASCAR he regularly drives, throwing it into the corners like he's got several hundred more horsepower. But certainly making the most of that as much as he can. Now the gap between himself and Citroen Racing is 50. Well, it's less than a minute now. He took a full 3.5 seconds out of Burgess's last lap on that time around on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. So we currently at the moment got 4th, 5th, 6th. 4th, 5th, and 6th are all on the same lap together. What's now intriguing is that Mukatak Racing are now in 3rd place, but they're on the same lead lap. And
massive
off the road!
That's a massive collision there. That's AASP Motorsport that have been involved.
And is that the esports cars involved? Because that's
no, that's not. That's no. Could that? I'm wondering whether that might be Majestic, or could that might have been Majestic Motorsport. I think I noticed the Daytona livery that's part of it, and that's the Majestic. I think the 421 that might have been involved there. Not too sure, but the 320 definitely taking a hard hit there.
And is that going to warrant a safety car? Is the answer to that question finally going to be yes? Not that I want one, but Obviously, you have to think about what the option that is going to be for the clerk of the course to throw that one. And that is in a really fast part of the circuit. You've got cars exiting Stowe Corner, and they're 4 abreast into
the
Abbey Corner.
473, the 411, as there's a car going slowly, and that has got literally nigh on no front bumper there. That looks to be Majestic Motorsport, I believe, in the 421.
Well, if we can swing around, which we are, let's see if we can have a look and see who it is.
It is
421. 421, so it is... Yeah, Majestic Motorsport. So that's the collision that we've had up at Stowe Corner then.
421, we're running in 83rd position, and there is a marshal at the scene where the 320 is now stationary.
Driver's moving around, you can see his hands moving around in the cockpit, so he's still there. That's the damage which the 421 has sustained on the front bumper. Trying to just keep out of everyone's way to bring that back to the pits. That's going to need a little bit of hammer work, I think, to get that car back straight again. That's
got Cox behind the wheel of the 421 there, so I think Majestic are running more than one. I'm not too sure if they're running more than one vehicle this weekend.
It's Mark Cox, the wheel of that car, for the record. The medical response units come down.
This, I feel, Scott, will be a safety car.
Yeah, I think they brought it down there because obviously there's been quite a hard hit down there, and I think at the very least for safety precautions, safety cars have been deployed, so I think that's the right call to do that, because of course it means that the medical teams, if they have to go down there and attend to them, that's the best way they can do it. So yellow flags will fly all around the circuit, safety car boards out, and the Citroen C3 Aircross safety car will be called once again. And this now brings everything back into play. The driver is out of the car, but I imagine he's a little bit winded after that.
Clutching the right-hand side of the ribcage there, so it just goes to show that with the full preparation that these cars undergo before being allowed to race is paramount to driver safety.
Yeah, hopefully the driver's not too badly hurt, and that it's simply something that you can recover from very quickly.
And that was that was Norton behind the wheel of the AASP Motorsport car. So full course yellow C3 Aircross safety car deployed here at Silverstone for the Disco Parts Distribution. Silverstone C1 Racing Club, 24 hours. 7 hours, 47 minutes and 52 seconds remaining on the clock.
Two things this will do. One, it will, depending on the gap of the cars, it will help bring Mukatak Racing close to the second place. It just about neutralises the gap, but depending on how many cars are between them on the road. What it also does is it brings Merlin International, Citroen Racing, but also ASR as together as possible, because they'll all give it the same sort of pace as the Mark Cox brings the 421 car in. Very, very...
with the front under trace scraping on the ground there, going through the pit lane as well. So
yeah,
that's,
that car looks rather sorry for itself after that incident as it heads into pit lane.
497, they're also in the pits as well.
And they're the team that had the spin earlier, just recently at Chapel Corner.
Also, MSAR Old Hat Motorsport with Hutchings behind the wheel is also taking advantage to get a pit stop in under the safety car period.
So is that now going to mean that, unless they stop in the pits as well, that on track we might see actually Mukatak Racing go through into what is now, I'm sure at the start of the week, at the start of the race, a rather unprecedented second place.
There's the CDMC car that's also got no front and rear windscreen as well, being followed by the 423.
That had plenty of dramas at the beginning of the race. I think in the first hour it had, I think, what was it, 2 stop-and-go or drive-through penalties for, no, black and orange flags. And then there was a drive-through penalty, I think, or a stop-go penalty for...
refueling. They are the only ones that have breached the refueling regulations, according to the C1 Racing Club.
No, I think there was another one, I think, because I did overhear Mark Werrell on the live stream earlier on, saying that his car was refueled in the garage, and therefore they were given a penalty for that as well. So I think he's possibly not the only one. And there might have been others that might have done exactly the same thing throughout the night, which we may not know about just yet. There's the 467. 467, which is Cat DT. That's the Colin Hode, David Outstadter, Phil Marsh, and Nick Fashy car. I believe Nick Fashy should still be at the wheel of that car, as we reported on it earlier on.
467, that's Alstadter now behind the wheel in 74th position out on the circuit.
Yeah, medical response unit still checking over the driver at the wheel of the 320, who's out of the car. He's in the back of the medical response unit, just getting checked over, I think, by the chief medical officer. And that will at the very least be a pure precaution, because in any incident you get at the circuit which requires either a safety car or a red flag of any kind, even if it's just a small incident of 2 cars making contact, there will still be, drivers will still go to the medical centre. They'll still be checked over by the chief medical officer on site, at the very least, as a pure precaution to make sure there's nothing unsightly or anything that can't be seen, obviously, which is wrong with the driver. Sort of after any kind of impact that they've had. So, as we say, this now neutralises the race. Now on track, am I seeing things, or is that Citroen Racing now ahead of Merlin Motorsports?
Well, when the safety car was deployed, as we've had our first 3 minutes too,
that's definitely Citroen ahead of Merlin, and they're both on the same lap. So I think we've had a position change for fourth position.
Because last time I checked, just before, round about sort of the safety car period, when it went out, Citroen made the move and Burgess got past ahead of Hepworth. They were literally just over a tenth of a second adrift of each other, with Citroen behind. So the 376 now is in fourth place. So who knows what might have happened had Jem Hepworth not had that tank slapper a bit earlier on, to be honest with you, Scott, because that cost them 23 seconds on the road. But now, in this phase of the race, has cost them fourth place. But they're still in the top five. They still have a very, very good chance to do all four ladies behind the wheel of that car.
Yeah, and there's still obviously plenty of time to go. There's still 7 3/4 hours of this race still left, so there's plenty that can and already has happened, but plenty that still can happen throughout the rest of this race going forwards. But it still leaves, of course, Circuit Pro with Simon Harrison, with Tim Hartland and Simon's old sparring partner Patrick Watts at the head of the field. Of course, it means their gap is now still a lap, but it's been significantly reduced now as the C3 Aircross safety car brings the cars down the pit lane at a reduced pace, heading in.
Oh, and Kermit's back in the pits. That's the car that Mark Werrell has been behind the wheel of today. So looks like they're changing front tyres as well.
425 is in the pit lane in the background as well.
390's just entered the pits too.
That's the Alex Sedgwick car.
So that's from sixth position.
And I believe that's Callum Cripps getting in. That's the diminutive frame of Callum Cripps there. Of course, you can tell it's Callum. It says on his Anders device at the back. So Alex Sedgwick steps out. That's rather obvious, isn't it?
I know, it's as obvious as daylight, which we now have upon us.
Yes.
Now, for sort of an update on the weather, the cloud cover is quite grey up above, but there is no rainfall at the minute. So we are dry. It's been predicted as a very overcast day with some sunny spells. 10 degrees Celsius, but it feels a lot colder than that because according to the weather prediction, it's got a west-northwesterly wind of around 30 kilometres per hour. That's why it might be 10 degrees Celsius, but it feels a heck of a lot colder than that down in the pit lane. Yeah,
we did see a brighter spell not too long ago, actually, where the sun was starting to peak out here this morning at Silverstone. Now, I think that's the medical response unit possibly taking away the driver in question of car 320 to be checked over, I think, a little bit more thoroughly at the medical centre. As for the car itself, that's going to be brought down to the back down to the pit lane on the back of a low loader. The question has to be, Alex, is that when it comes back to the pit lane, do they now go ahead and are they now permitted to go and stick another driver in and get it back out there into the race? Because of course the driver that was in that car, I'd imagine, is now in the back of the medical response unit.
Well, also, as you say that, Citroen Racing have now pitted. So this is going to change the dynamic further still, with a lot of the teams calling a strategy decision now to say, right, we've got a chance. Okay, we might have done 30 laps on these. They might have time now. Looks like, are they getting ready? They are jacking up the 390. It looks to be the case, so they'll be they're waiting to refuel, but also looks like there's a fresh set of Nankangs going on the front of that car.
I think it'd be quite cool to watch, actually, because I don't think, unless people are watching overnight on the live stream, we haven't actually properly showed you a tyre change happening in clear view where you can see them actually working on the tyre. Some of the cars actually just slowing up a little bit here on the run out of Magnus Beckenschap, even coming to a standstill for some reason. Whether someone's had a spin under the safety car or had a problem, but everyone's just stacking up here.
I think it's just with the sheer volume of cars that we have on this grid. So it will be a case that certain parts in the track, it will be a little bit tighter for everyone to sort of get through sort of 2 by 2. And, sometimes they'll just go, you know what, now's the time to cool the temperatures on the vehicle. The brakes will be hot, the tyres will be quite heavily scrubbed, but also quite heated as well, especially through the sidewalls when they're going through these corners like Alex Sedgwick was earlier on. I mean, that's why they're probably going through tyres more than they can probably think about. So yeah, it's it's an opportunity for the drivers now to have a bit of a refocus and actually clear the heads a little bit here as well.
Bit of a unique way of lifting that car onto the low. Both its doors are flown open, so whether that's for stabilisation, like a pair of wings on an aircraft, I'm not sure. But
this one, yeah, it flies.
Absolutely. So the cars now, of course, making their way down the Grand Prix pit straight, which is where we see as well. Right, here's the tyre change in action then for the 390.
So yeah, standard steel wheels on the 390 from ASR with Callum Cripps getting behind the wheel.
Here's a comparison. There's a fresh Nankang, and then we've got I'm presuming the heavily worn Nankang coming off the front end. So these are brand spanking new Nankang tyres, and we can get the camera on the tread. That looks almost slick. That is slick.
That is right on the wear limit. Right on the wear limit. That is borderline MOT failure there, Scott.
Yeah, I think that definitely is very close to the 1.6mm minimum requirement for a tyre. So,
yeah, so 5 wheel bolts being gunned on and then torqued just to make sure that they are ship-shape in Bristol fashion. Obviously, we've had a wheel loose, so the teams will be very, very wary indeed.
Callum Cripps will certainly appreciate the I'm assuming immense amount of grip. I'm sure we will feel that he'll feel the difference from, as you do as a driver, between sort of heavily worn front tyres and a fresh set once he goes back out there. So he looks like he's rejoining back out there in, I think, 6th position,
which is where the team entered not that long ago. So Callum now exits pit lane. Will be on the same lap as Toll Bar Racing with Dave behind the wheel in the treble 3. So with the safety car period, we'll just run you through the top 10 at the moment. Simon Harrison still behind the wheel of the Circuit Pro car, leading the race by 2 laps from McDonnell in the Mack Attack racing car, now promoted to 2nd through the pit stop phases. Citroen Racing up into 3rd, Team Merlin up into 4th, MSAR Old Hat Motorsport in 5th ahead of ASR with Callum Cripps now behind the wheel. Tollbar Racing in 7th in the treble 3. Roll Centre in the 488 in 8th position, with Spy Motorsport in the 370 in 9th, and Silver Lake Racing rounding out the top 10.
So now we have to try and pick out exactly who is where in the sequence here of Citroen C1, so we can try and find any notable cars out there in terms of battles for position. Of course, we said that this was going to close up the battles for 2nd place and also for 4th, 5th and 6th. Safety car is in, and that means that racing is back underway here then at the Distrigo C1 24 Hours Silverstone. Green flag on the pit straight, and away they go once again with just over 7 hours and 37 minutes still to go here at the 24-hour race here. There's the custard car making its way through in the 3rd car on the shot. Silver Lake Racing is in there, still within the top 10. 411 back out there as well. It's good to see that car is back running again. We need to see exactly where now both cars involved in the fight for 3rd and 4th position are now, because we've got Citroen Racing and Merlin International now still 4th and 5th together on track.
Just keeping an eye on the timings at the moment. So at the minute, it's going to be quite interesting to see. It looks like it's a 25.5 second gap between Team Merlin in 4th and Citroen in 3rd at the minute, but when they come across the start-finish line, we'll hopefully get a real true indication of the pace that both cars respectively are setting. As just the amount of cars that, for those watching on the live stream, you can just see the sea of Citroen C1s.
It's almost an endless stream of cars heading out of the heading onto the hangar straight. You can see as they come through. They all start to sort of go off into little groups of at least 3, 4 or 5 together to start to hang around in packs as they come through. That's probably just for groups so they can try and battle
there has been a change, Scott. There has been a change. It looks like Team Merlin are up into 3rd position. Citroen seems to have gone down to 4th, and might be the fact that Citroen are showing on 263 laps and Team Merlin on 264. So that might be as a result of their pit stop a little bit earlier. So Citroen were in the pit, so this promotes Jem Hepworth up into 3rd.
But not only that, it promotes the MSAR Old Hat Motorsport car of Keeping into 4th position. So because of their pit stop, it's dropped them from what was a 3rd position down to possibly 5th. Toll Bar Racing up to 6th as a result, and that's the result of the damage that the 320 had.
That's going to need a lot of work to the left front suspension, and maybe more besides. So you're looking at uprights, maybe even steering rack and anti-roll bar damage there as well.
Looks like we've had a change in the area motorsport car, one of the fan favourites, because Luke Handley, who's another one of the Civic Cup racers at the wheel of that car, now on the stick, because Leanne Moore on the stream says, "Go on, Luke Handley, you little menace." So could see some support for them still in the mix as well. But bit of an interesting fact for Marcus Adams. Thank you for the info, Marcus. The doors were left open on the 320. That's so that the ropes don't damage the thin pillars of the doors, which makes sense, I suppose, because you're not sort of pulling on that and causing any problems.
And
378
in
goes.
351 is none other than Howden Haynes, former Audi Sport race engineer, winner at Le Mans with Messrs. Christensen, Capello and McNish. And that was someone going very, very off track there.
I think that's the Copwomble car, I think, going off the road.
Yeah,
and back on again.
With the lovely martini stripes on there, which has a bit of neon to suit that as well. Oh, yellow flags out there. That might have been because of the Cockwomble car going a bit wide there, Scott, or is there another incident?
Three abreast and there's contact! 387 was right in the middle of the 412 and the 449. Shooting through the gap is the 373. So even at this later stage in the race, with 7.5 hours to go, they are still obsessed with going 3 wide into corners. And I think they all just, and I stress the word just, got away with that.
By the skin of the paint on the sides of those C1s. Wilds behind the wheel and acting very wild, very much being the case in the 387 GMP developments stand up to cancer. Interesting question from Trevor Palmer. What's the age range of the drivers? Well, it's far and wide, let me put it that way.
Puncture on the 420.
That's the right front that's gone on there, so
420, that's the reason why it went off and straight on, because it has hardly any grip on the front end, because the tyre is tearing itself to shreds on the front right. So Cockrell will bring the 420 car into the pit lane to get that quickly changed.
So just checking where the 420 is in the running order. They
quite down the order, I would have imagined, or maybe not, because I can't see them yet on the timing screen. They are
420. Well, they're definitely, unless I'm blinking and missing, 13th.
So that's actually quite dramatic, actually, because they're 13th place, and they are, I think they've got a lap advantage over Bengineering, I think, either that or on the same lap.
And a lap.
And is that the 447 back in? Sorry, the Clapham North car back in, I think.
Well, the 474 is back in the pits, and they're 16th position at the moment. And looks like, well, it doesn't look like it's not just the front right wheel on the 420 of Cockwomble that's just got a puncture. Look at the right front mirror, Scott, and that front right wing. Has there been a little bit of contact, maybe?
I don't want to speculate, but do we think that the fact we've got Clapham North in the pits as well, possible related? I don't know. I'm not sure.
You might be very. That's a very good thought. There, I do have to be honest with you, as the 473 comes flying through. It's quite interesting that we've had some comments on the live stream. Thank you very much for interacting with us as they're about to jack up the front of the 420.
Yeah, I think that's a different change, because that's even affected. That's deformed a tiny bit of the rim. You can see just from that as well, from running on a flat. So
this in another aspect as well, the tracking on the front of the vehicle will be slightly compromised, because if you get a little bit of a knock on the front, I mean, having worked, continuing to work in the automotive industry that I do, having done so over the last 20 years, the slightest amount of knock, and I've experienced this myself, you get a slight knock on an alloy or a steel wheel, it's going to put the tracking out.
But I don't think they've got time to call absolute alignment out to get that car
straight
again,
or go to quick fit for that one.
No.
As the 308 still battle-scarred quite well and truly there, still making its way through traffic.
I'm just refocusing this so we can get a shot of the cars coming through the complex, endlessly pouring their way through.
Looks like one of them's got liquid molly on the side of the car as well, and it looks like it's an all. Well, it's
tyre changed on the right hand side. Obviously, the offending right front is being changed. The right rear is being changed as well.
Just wondering whether they might do the other side just as a precaution, rather than sticking out on 2 new right side tyres. It might be better to put all 4 tyres, 4 brand new tyres on as we get another car coming into the pits now.
We've got side by side between 385 and 396. All up the inside went the McIntyre car.
Oh,
the Silverlake car's been off.
Oh, and nearly got collected by the 443 as Crossacre in the 483 goes round the outside of them at the moment.
So whereas Silverlake, they've got the next car behind them is the
Bianco Auto Developments vehicle.
And they're 45 seconds back. Someone else has gone off the road because they've just rejoined from the runoff area on the inside of the exit of Chapel Corner. So they're certainly not shy about pushing the limits at this later stage, are they? You can hear how much the tyres are being tortured through Copse Corner. Listen, have a listen.
And that is the little voice for help me. You know,
those poor Nankangs.
I know.
But there we go. Just a quick note. Bixter saying Muckatat Racing got from 88th to 2nd. Yes, that is exactly what's happened to them.
Well, yeah. Well, make that 99th to 2nd, my
friend.
Yes,
99th to 2nd.
So
place, they started right at the back.
97 positions. Red Rascals. Someone's asked for an update. Thank you very much, Sarah Dengate on YouTube.
That would be, I think, one of her siblings, Kevin, at the wheel of that car. Or part of that
441, currently 81st behind David Rabowski from Flying Haggis.
Yeah, and that's Williams at the wheel of the 441 then. The three abreast again down towards the Rusty Nail racing car, battling with the 386 out there. 386 is young and dumb.
We've got young and old, and we've also got young at heart in this 99 strong field here.
And then by contrast, you just see the 377, which is OAP Racing. So that's quite fitting, I suppose, in that context. 411.
Yeah, which is Kraken Motorsport with Lynn behind the wheel, currently 23rd at the minute.
And that's one of the still many cars in the field which still look as though they're in one piece. Look at the gaggle at the top exiting the Club Corner up towards Abbey. There's about 6 or 7 of them as down the outside goes 308 on, that's the Quattro Formaggio. This other group will come straight through with about 7 or 8 of them all together. So I've just gone past 7.5 hours to go. It's still Circuit Pro with Simon Harrison, the former BTCC and National Saloon Car racer, at the wheel of that car. Declan McDonald now at the wheel of the second-placed Muckatat racing car, which is, well, it hasn't crossed the line yet. What it does, it'll be a lap behind, or a lap and a bit behind Simon Harrison. Jem Hepworth, of course, still running a very, very solid 3rd place.
Oh, well, Dan Blake has visited the unfortunate C1 Racing Club graveyard. Right. And they're not looking very pretty at all. The Gala Performance car, the front end on that, Scott, says...
Yeah, it doesn't look... If you can see the picture, that's a very mangled front end.
And then the Atomic Racing 363 and 364, which looks like that has rolled as well as a result of
an but the front end looks a lot more intact for this on that time. I would probably put it to you, looking on tracks. I've just seen the Muckatat racing car go through, but it had a silver car behind it, and I know for a fact that the Circuit Pro car of Simon Harrison is silver, so is there a potential that the Simon Harrison's Circuit Pro car is now right behind on track the Muckatat racing car? It's a speculation, but we have to wait and see if we can find them. They should be heading down towards Stowe Corner. Right, here they are. Now, the silver car behind Muckatat Racing is the one flashing the headlights, and the car right behind it, I would think possibly that could be, really look at the tracker, I think, see if we can try and find out. So we've got 385 and 347. Oh, 2 cars off! Oh,
and into the barrier!
And that's Team Tivoli.
317 and
the 468, and that's Manpower Motorsport. Manpower Motorsport absolutely livid. You can see him with his hands up in the cockpit thinking, what on earth was that all about? And so both cars are going to have to be retrieved. I don't think that's front suspension damage. It's simply just the angle of the front wheel trying to get out of the out. That's going to need a live snatch to get it out. Whether that's going to require a safety car or not, we'll have to wait and see. But again, looked to me as though possibly one tried to go up the inside. Both of them came together. I think they just scraped the wall in the background through Magnus and Beckett. Both are beached in the gravel trap.
Well, the 468 was actually on the inside. Let's just
here's a replay. Oh, and was there contact from behind? And if it was, that looked to me, did it not, possibly like the 480? That looked like the Merlin car that might possibly tag the right rear. If we can get probably a look again at that replay.
That is very interesting indeed, because that would be investigated. But the 468, absolutely furious.
Yeah, livid at that one. I think, and Team Tivoli was the innocent party in that. They're on the inside line, trying to keep out of everyone's way, and then got collected by the 468. Both of them went off. Even a C1 at quite a speed, and that's a fast part of the circuit course down towards Magnus, Beckett and Chapel. But I have to say, the car that was immediately behind the Manpower racing car unless we can see a clearer view on another replay, it was definitely the Merlin car. Whether there was definite contact or not, afterwards, let's have a look at it. Oh, there was, I think, to Jem Hepworth, I think, has just tagged. Now, whether or not, again...
But that's a hard hit for the left side of Team Tivoli on the barriers there. Took the mirror out, but then scraping all down the side. There's a possibility that if the sidewalls of those Nankang tyres have actually collected with the wall, the structural integrity for Team Tivoli on the left side of that vehicle will be compromised.
Yeah. So whether or not there'll be any ramifications, if at all, if the stewards will deem it a racing incident or whether there was anyone at fault, rather than speculate, we'll let the stewards and the clerk of the course decide exactly what's going to go, rather than speculate and get into trouble for that one, for making undue predictions.
And the 468's front wheels are spinning like crazy as the marshals in orange try to assist, but that is going to be, as you say, they're going to need to snatch them out of the gravel. And if that is with that particular part of the circuit, I've got a feeling, is it going to be a case of, is it going to be double waved yellows, or is it going to be a safety car?
Well, that's the question. Of course, it will need a live snatch. Now, what's intriguing now is you've got Team Viking that's down in 14th place now, but they're right behind the 480 car in third place. They've just put a lap on the Misty Racing car as they head down towards Cops Corner. So, but you could see on that replay, just to mention it again, that just behind, I think, whether or not Jem Hepworth, again, I'm not making a suggestion at all there was any deliberate contact whatsoever. We'll wait for the clerk of the course to decide exactly, by looking at everyone's footage, who gets a penalty and who doesn't, or if there's any penalty handed out. But Jem Hepworth was there. There's the contact. There was a definite tag there from Merlin Motorsport, comes across the front end. The car was very lucky. It was the 401 involved in that. The 401, which was Alex and Holmes. That's the Alex Jordan, Andrew Perry, Daniel Quintero and Russ Oliphant car. Very lucky not to get collected either. As thanks to our stream director for showing us on the replay there. There was a tag from the 480, and that sent the Manpower Motorsport car across the front end of 401, who were very lucky not to get collected. It sent them into Team Tivoli. Both cars went spearing off, clattered the barrier, and both are beached in the gravel trap. So let's see what the ramifications of that is going to be.
Here's the Starsky and Hutch tribute band in the 374. Midway Motorsport currently having refuelling underway here in the pits. Mark, we completely agree. It's very difficult to tell because obviously it's looking, towards the front of what was happening. So it could be anything. It could have been the slightest amount of contact. Maybe the Manpower car might have even been unsettled.
Yeah,
if they've hit a slight wet patch, they could have lost it.
Yeah, it's obviously interpretations of how it looks are different to people, of course. But as to say, best thing to do at this point in time is kind of leave it to the clerk of the course and the stewards and let them decide what the best course of action is in terms of settling that score, in terms of what happened.
Yeah, Mark. As we just said. Yeah. So I mean, it's difficult to say, Scott. At the end of the day, it's hearsay. We can't really, we're not going to speculate. We're not going to throw blame to anybody because, race control could decide it as Howden Haynes is clearly getting stuck in elbows out as the 376, I think, went a little bit wide there going through the complex there. But, yeah, it's difficult to say. But we'll leave it to race control to decide.
Yeah. Obviously, we can interpret it based on how we see it. So, obviously, but in terms of the definitive outcome of that, of course, as I said, it's best for the stewards to watch the footage and see exactly what the situation was and who did what to who, if anything. So we'll leave it at that, draw a line under it, and we'll move forwards. So the live snatch is still going on. The JCB sort of snatch vehicle has managed to latch onto the Manpower car. Team Tivoli will be sat there patiently thinking, when's my turn? Because I wanted to come out of the, I want to get out and get back into the race. So or beginning to come out now is the Manpower racing car.
Doesn't need to worry about spinning its front wheels now it's being dragged out of the kiddie litter there. Majestic Motorsport still in the pits, currently sitting in 62nd position. Let's just listen to that howling banshee cry of those poor little Nankang tyres once again. So as a result of obviously what's just happened, Team Tivoli and Manpower will both receive a 3-lap penalty for assistance, but not through their own unwilling participation. So yeah, we'll just see how things pan out. So we've now got just literally 7 hours and 20 minutes to go to conclude the 2019 Distrigo Parts Distribution Silverstone C1 Racing Club 24 hours. And at the moment, Scott, the leaders have completed 271 laps. They're now on lap 272. So in terms of total mileage that's been completed by the leader at the moment is 992 miles and 992.13 miles.
So we're almost coming up to the magical 1,000, which is quite interesting. I'll be in about another, 3 or 4 laps' time that gets completed. Because a lap is about 3.5 miles here at Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit. The 317 Tivoli car is finally being retrieved from the gravel trap. The Manpower Motorsport car is, as far as I can see, stationary on the runoff area.
So let's have a look at this again. It's
in that slower replay, and again, I know it's not definite, but from this is my own personal view on it, because again, my personal view means nothing compared to the Clark of the course, really. But to me, visibly, it looks like there's a touch, but I could be wrong. So it's in terms of looking at it from that slower angle.
Yeah, too difficult to call on that one, Scott. So, like we say, we'll leave the race direction to make the decision.
I can and have been wrong. I'll put my hands up and admit that. So
yeah,
I could be completely wrong on that one. But as we say, the two cars, the offending cars in the gravel trap.
Yeah, so it begs the question, you know, how much. Because when you think about it, Manpower got off with that, I think, a little bit, well, got off with it lightly, because Team Tivoli were the ones. You can see how badly scraped that is down the left-hand side of that, especially on the
left rear
quarter. So, yeah, it's... but good job by the marshals, as always. So, yeah. So, at the moment, Harrison's still leading in the Circuit Pro car on lap number 273. 2 laps ahead of McDonnell and Macatak, who are now up into second. Jem Hepworth in third place in the 480 Team Merlin International car. Citroen racing 33.7 seconds adrift. But Scott, I've just been keeping an eye on the lap times for Citroen. 3-minute 5. Jem Hepworth's just on a 3-minute 3-minute 7.1. So Burgess is clearly on the move as there's more two abreast battles. Good to see the Team 448 Rockingham car there, as Citroen is trying to navigate this back marker traffic and is having to hold back here. Little touch on the Rockingham car there from Citroen.
Don't start playing games like that at this point in time in the race.
We're actually trying to pit. So Team Rockingham in the 448 now hits the pit lane after let's say a little bit of rubbing from Citroen there.
Yeah, that would be good enough, right? I just had a picture from Anston in the pit lane, just showing us another car that's in sort of the C1 graveyard, shall we say. Unfortunately, we're in the pit box. That's the AB Motorsport car that we saw right at the beginning, just before we came back on air. Us as a team came back on air. So that's the case. Yeah, to quote Lucas, one of our stream directors, a lot of broken French cars, as we say from that one. But of course, all of them are French because they're all Citroen C1s, obviously. Safety car's been deployed. Safety car is out now. I suspect if that's to recover the 2 cars which have just been dragged out of the gravel trap, that may be the case. Whether it's for something else, I'm not 100%. The safety car has been deployed once again.
Just going to have a look, and because thanks to TSL timing, obviously with the fact that they've had to keep up with 99 cars here at Silverstone over the last 16 or so hours, I'm going to try and see if the because they do have a tracker on here as well. So at the minute, it's not giving watch competitors. Well, that's quite interesting when I've got 2 cars on there showing up.
Maybe give it a refresh if it works that way. So safety car's been deployed then now with just over 7.25 hours still to go in this Distrigo Citroen C1 Challenge 24 hours. And the Citroen C3 Aircross safety car has picked up the first bunch of cars, and they'll start to stack up behind it one after the other. 478 are in the pits. That's the Burgess Boys racing team.
Well, it looks like cars are now showing up on the tracker. So it looks like the Team Tivoli car, that is a whack on the left-hand side of that car.
Yeah, in front of the left wing mirror just dangling off the side of the door there, you can see as well. So Morning to BW Automotive, who's just joined us back on stream. As teams have already been quickly dragged off the circuit, and they will look to try and get that car back. Of course, they unfortunately, even though they were both part of the incident, they'll both get, if Team Tavares' car can't get back under its own steam, then they'll get a 3-lap penalty. XD Sunny asking why it's a safety car out. Well, we suspect it's to properly finish the recovery of the 2 cars that went off into the gravel trap just now at Maggots and Beckett's. 3-lap penalty for 317 and 468.
349 now in the pits.
That is our former leaders, C'est la vie, so that's a change of front end for them. One of the mechanics in the front right checking something.
Looking at the suspension upright. Now
that's the Manpower Motorsport car, which hasn't been removed yet. That car and Team Tavares, which is the 317. Obviously, they're both going to get that penalty because they're both going to have to be brought back, and now obviously that car is stationary on the road.
Team C'est la vie at the moment currently sitting in 51st position. I think the biggest thing here is with regards to it, as DHD they've had their dramas earlier on this morning at around about 7:55 local time here. They went off at Cops. So realistically, these clean-up operations do take time, but they are facilitated as quickly as is humanly possible. This is, as we said, I think this now puts us, I think, possibly at over 20 safety car periods throughout the last 16 hours or so.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, I think.
Because I think when I was listening to Silverstone radio a bit earlier on when I woke up this morning, that there had been around about sort of 16, 17 safety car incidents. So I think we're now into the 20s. So that's quite a lot when you think about it. But there have been quite a few incidents that have required said safety car periods, especially with on-track incidents, rollovers, people hitting the barriers. Is the green C1 without the windshield still out? Asks XD Sunny. You might be talking about C1 USA, who apparently, I'm just going to check to see if they are. Let's just have a look. So effectively, 416 is apparently, according to TSL timing, missing on the tracker. So they may not. Now I count, Scott, 11 cars. So it looks like we are down to 88 runners. So unfortunately, our good friends stateside from C1 USA, I don't think I'll take. Now that was the one that had that hefty hit just before we came on air, where we had 2 separate incidents, one on the national pit straight, one on the international pit straight. So,
but I think the one, whatever happened with the AB Motorsport car, we're not sure, but we can think that the C1 USA car was caught in an incident with the other car which went on, which was the Elk car that also went off as well down towards Cops Corner. But 88 cars still running is still a really good number to have. One thing I want to try and find out on the tracker is whereabouts Simon Harrison and Declan McDonald are in relation to each other, because of course I had a feeling that they were pretty much nose to tail, but the other way around in terms of Muck Attack Racing, literally just ahead of the Circuit Pro team.
Right, so
Muck Attack Racing are 347 and 385 Circuit Pro. So one team that's been leading the way at this race, of course, has been at some point in the early stages throughout the night was Team C'est la vie, but problems for them throughout the race saw that on their roof. And Paul Dickinson, the man that started that car at the beginning of the race, is down in the pit lane with Anthony, so they conduct an interview with them down in a couple of seconds. So Anthony, down to him in the pit lane with Paul Dickinson of Team C'est la vie.
I'm in the pit lane with Paul Dickinson. On the quality of the start yesterday. It was absolutely brilliant. The way the front row behaved and did exactly as they were asked to keep everything tight. It was the best start we've seen.
We're here with Paul Dickinson from C'est La Vie. Paul, when we went off air yesterday, the car was leading. What's happened since then to the car to have it dropped so far down?
So we sort of led for a little while earlier in the day, and then I think our third driver went out, rolled the car. So lads inside had to do a bit of repairing. I think we went back down to about 80th, and we're just slowly working our way back up.
With the roll, how much damage was there done? Was it significant? What work was required to get it back out on track?
Reasonable amount. We took the front screen out, the rear screen, damaged the lights a little bit, and then on the outlet realised that the rear beam was knackered, so that had to come back in and have that replaced, which they did in record-breaking time. And to be honest, the car's back to normal now, bar the fact that it's quite windy and wet.
What are your hopes for the rest of the race? What sort of position do you think you'll be able to get to?
If there's a few more safety cars, hopefully sort of get another 10, 15 places maybe, just see how it goes.
With the damage, what sort of pace is the car doing? Is it still doing competitive times?
Yeah, it's reasonable, yeah. I mean, it's probably about the second and a half off the pole, to be honest, so yeah, surprisingly it's still going all right.
That's okay. Thank you very much, Paul, and good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Dan Blake. Speaking to Paul Dickinson from Team C'est La Vie, who've currently got Chandwick behind the wheel. They're currently running in 53rd position as Brooks Speed, with Banks behind the wheel of the 443, now is in the pits, as is AASP Motorsport, and Brooks Speed also in the pits. So the Manpower Motorsport is now on the back of the low loader. This is one of the main reasons why the safety car has come out. Now obviously manual clutch, big crash, or what happened? Well, there was a collision between Manpower Motorsport and also Team Tivoli, which was the other car involved. We're not too sure exactly what happened, but the pair ended up at a very fast part of the circuit being hit. And funnily enough, Philip is actually one of the directors of the C1 Racing Club. Thank you very much. Well, yeah, it's Philip who's one of the directors of the C1 Racing Club, saying to Phil Dickinson, thank you very much for Paul Dickinson, saying a really good start, really kept it nice and clean. Yeah, manual clutch, yeah, two cars came together, so Manpower Motorsport and Team Tivoli, that's numbers 468 and 317, are being recovered to the pits. So, yeah, really good to hear from Paul that's saying that they had to do some extensive repairs to the Team C'est La Vie car, but it is back out and circulating, the front and the rear beam. Now, is there more or less drag with the windscreen and the back screen out? Well, you will have basically an air pocket if you have a front windscreen out and a rear windscreen in, and with the build-up of pressure, it's going to blow that single pane of glass straight back out and throw shards all over the racetrack, and that's something we definitely don't want here today, because of the fact that these Nankang tyres may be road-going tyres, and what happens is you get shards of glass, you pick up punctures quite significantly, and that could affect a heck of a lot of the field and throw everything upside down as the C3 Aircross safety car continues. And the safety car lights are off, Scott. We're about to get back underway under green flag conditions.
Yep, so someone playing guitar with one of their pit sort of pit lollipops there as well, so even at this late stage they're having fun. But yeah, safety car is going to be heading in a couple of seconds time, and that will mean that the race gets underway. The first car immediately dives into the pit lane to go after them, but we are away and racing once again here with just over 7 hours to go. So the marshal can finally put away the safety car boards, and green flags all around the circuit, so head on to pit straight, and the race resumes here at Silverstone of the Distrigo C1 Racing Club 24 hours as they charge up towards Copse Corner again. Some vigorous green flag waving there by the marshals. Great job by all of them, of course, for fantastic work.
Also, now, Scott, we've got a battle that's now really re-emerged. Citroen Racing is fractionally ahead of MSAR Old Hat Motorsport by just over 1.1 seconds. So hopefully with the safety car, that might have bunched them up a little bit here as well. So that's going to be very interesting. In the meantime, Team Merlin have gone a gap, well, did have a gap of around about 51 seconds over Citroen. So Team Merlin currently sitting in third position, 51 seconds adrift of Mac Attack Racing, who have done a handsome job getting up to the front of the field. Well, hang on a second, Mac Attack, have they pitted? Because the thing is that Team Merlin International, according to TSL Timing, have gone up
into second place.
Yeah.
There may have been a pit stop. If it was, then obviously it hasn't. I don't think it came up on the screen, or at least we weren't concentrating enough to see it on the screen. But they've dropped down to, they're dropping down to 4th, 5th, 6th position now. So That's interesting. Whether they pitted or not. If someone down the ground can let us know if they've pitted or not, if they've had an incident. I'm not sure, but nothing's come on the screen which suggests such a thing has happened. Meanwhile, 3 abreast again, just casually down towards Vale Corner.
As they do. Bengineering in the pits from 12th position. Roll Centre also in the pits. They're currently 8th at the minute. We've got Misty Racing in the 406. They're currently in the pits at the moment. 20th position at the moment. And that has got, behind the wheel of that car, well, it says Ramsey on there, but I don't see a Ramsey on there.
Just we saw a shot there. That was one of the Emax Motorsport cars coming to pit lane, but just in front of the front of shot, we also saw that the reappearance of the 421, which is the car that had the impact with the 320 car. Oh dear, that's the 464 that's had plenty of. I think as Jimmy Broadbent would say, a rather heckin' crunch on the side of that left-hand the left-hand door, to use that term. So other teams that are in the pits at the moment: Sussex Road and Race. In the 393, and that looks to have Kevin Fulbrook behind the wheel as the Viking car getting incredibly heated alongside Eastgate Automotive in the 318. That's a battle from the opening stage to the race, that was, and that between those two battling for positions in the early opening couple of hours, even though that Eastgate Automotive was a little bit further up the road. At that point, there was a good battle developing for 3rd place. 3 abreast again down to us.
Oh, that's not good on the front. That's the radiator of the Majestic Motorsport 421. That front end impact, I don't think has done that radiator any favours at all.
Doesn't look like it.
You can just see that the amount of steam, that's the pressure from the. Because it's a pressurised system on any coolant, and this is very brave by the mechanic trying to work on there as well, and it's spurting all the water back out quicker than he can put it back in.
Yeah, I think that front radiator has rather seen the end of its life, I think, after being sort of possibly sucker punched by the impact when it hit the incident. When it hit the 320 car down the exit of Stowe Corner. Here's the Area Motorsport car, one of the fan favourites, battling away with our former leaders, Team Celebi. So Area Motorsport at the wheel of that car appears to be... Area Motorsport.
That's Handley.
Luke Handley.
They shot up to 81st position.
And this is just pure on-track battling. This isn't for position.
There we go. There's the other... that looks to be the other... Now the 341.
That's Majestic Motorsport.
Which is the sister car, which is the one that Charles Graham from Daytona Motorsport is racing in this weekend. Charles has raced at Silverstone in the 6-hour Burkitt Rally over the last few seasons, and there's been some great documentaries on the Daytona Motorsport channel for that as well.
Good battle here between Burgess Boys Racing and the Elk Motorsport car. Elk Sabora Motorsport in car number 379. Another great shot of the cars charging their way down the back straight. Just in the top of the screen, you can see the fluorescent blue and yellow car just about middle of the screen now, that just in that sort of small pack of 3 cars. But at the back of that is Citroen Racing in there. Looking down the rest of the order, and we'll be able to go into the pit lane in a few moments' time to have a chat for the first time with Anthony Jordan on stream. He's in pit lane exploring the pits and paddocks to find some stories, and in a few moments' time we'll be able to have a chat with him to see who he's found, what he's found, and what he can impart in terms of information down the pit lane in terms of any repairs or pit stops. So we'll go to Anthony in a couple of seconds' time.
So here we go to the pits, down to Anthony.
Anthony Jordan here, down in the pit lane here at Silverstone for the Citroen C1. We've got Daniel Perry here from Emax Motorsport. Now, Daniel, you had a bit of a rollover just before midnight, was it, last night?
Yeah, around about midnight. I don't even know exactly when. I was about 2.25 hours into my stint, so coming towards the end of it. The track, it'd been raining all night up until then, and then it was starting to dry. We had a dry line on track, so I was getting more confidence, pushing the car harder and harder. And then just one lap, car sticks up my inside in turn 1. I go that 2 foot wide to the left, 2 wheels on the wet stuff, and the back just steps out, and I'm a passenger at that point. So yeah, straight into the gravel, onto its roof. I'm cut off to the med centre, and the car's in the garage for an hour, but we're back out and going, so.
No, excellent. I'd say really challenging conditions through the night. The rain coming down, difficult to see, and the amount of cars that you got out circuit as well. It must have been. Were you in a big group of cars where you had that accident?
No, it's just one car. He kind of just came out of nowhere. He had so much straight line speed. I don't know who it was, but he just stuck up my inside. I've got to move, damn. And then, yeah, by the point I was sliding. I caught that kind of slide so many times last night already, but this time it snapped back the other way, and that was it. I was gone.
Excellent. And I say you've lost obviously your front window due to the crash. You've had to pull out the rear window because of the crash as well. So you've got the most aerodynamic car out there. And I say, is that making it quite cold in the car?
It's freezing, yeah. It's horrible, yeah. And especially I was back out again about 7 o'clock this morning. It's still quite wet on the track, and all the spray kicking up into the face, and your visor down, and I was wiping my face off every time a car came in front of me. It was not as enjoyable, to be honest, not at all. But, well, it's still enjoyable. Just
excellent stuff. Well, cracking stuff. Good luck for the rest of the race, and yeah, we'll hope to see you at the end of the race. Spot on. Daniel Perry there.